and they are very organized in the way they raise money, the way they communicate, the way they manipulate, and the way they target candidates. Now, being from the Midwest, I saw probably one of the most unbelievable campaigns unfold in front of the people that they didn't even know what was happening when they put the vote value signs up across South Dakota and ran Tom Daschle out of office. And they basically lied. That's really what a lot of Republican strategists do today. They flat out lie. You have to call them on it. And I think that we've seen now we're in this cultural battle. What are our priorities as Americans? Who are we? Where do we want to go? Because now we do have two Americas. Now we do have the have and the have-nots. Now we do have more credit card debt than we've ever had. We've had a time now where people are saving less. I mean, there's a lot of things that are starting to come to a crescendo. Now, we made tremendous progress in November of '06. It's a start, but we have to stay focused, and this fight is going to continue on. It's hard to run for office when everything has to be packaged in a 10-second soundbite. You can't slip up, because you'll see it 50 times that night on the network news. I can tell you that everything that the Clinton campaign does has already been polled and focused, and they are stumble-free at this point. Now, whether that can continue on, I don't know. Now, she's got the resources to do this. Now, whether Barack can do it, now, Barack appeals to me. I went to a black high school. I mean, he says things that I know the brothers would be saying if I were reunited with him today from 30 years ago. We're fighting and talking about the same issues today that we were 30 years ago socially. And I think that the only party that's going to move those issues forward and put them on the table is the Democratic Party. So we're in this ideological struggle for the country. And this is no time to give up. This is no time to be disengaged or give up or think that we're not making progress. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are frustrated saying, well, the Democrats aren't doing enough. And I'm one of them when it comes to impeachment, because I'd like to see the leadership step up and put the pressure on them. But the frustration is that we have to understand that we have stopped Alberto Gonzales. There is some oversight now. All these committee hearings that are taking place right now, if there wasn't a slim majority for the Democrats, none of this would be happening right now. So we have to understand, that there are some, I mean, people having input in government is kind of what the Democrats are all about. And this is part of the ideological struggle in government that's taking place. And there's so many people that are saying that they left the Republican Party, and I'm one of them, and it's been almost 10 years now, but I saw this freight train coming. I saw how they were treating the veterans. I saw how they were treating the Vietnam veterans in a homeless clinic. I saw where this health care thing was going. Look at public education. They vilify public education. They're all about the rich being able to get educated, and who gives a damn about the less fortunate financially? That's not America. So, I mean, I think you could go right down the list of issues, and I think the Republicans are so far out of the mainstream in this country. I think this is a golden opportunity for Democrats.
Go ahead, Mike. Just to build on what Cenk was talking about a second ago about a strong Democratic leader who has...
Mike, you're having heat stroke, aren't you? Me too.
Right. I think it's up to us to insist that the people in the Democratic Party who do wind up in positions of leadership have that strength. The problem that I have with so many national Democrats, and I've said this many times on the program, is that going back to what George Wallace said in 1968, so many of these people, there's not a dime's worth of difference between Republicans and Democrats. So many Democrats get their funding from the same sources that the Republicans do, and once the corporations realize that there's a shift, all of a sudden there's a shift, the money runs over to the other side, then the money runs back. And until these candidates understand that they have to talk about and build on core Democratic Party values, and again, I go back to the FDR, until that time comes, we're going to have I think, just varying degrees of corporatism. We're going to have Republican corporatism, which is awful, or Democratic corporatism, which is not quite so awful. But I don't see a candidate out there right now, a Democratic candidate, who would really put themselves on the line to seriously stop this war. I don't believe this bullshit that, it takes 90 days or 120 days. I realize there's a logistical problem. But you want to stop the war? What did I hear today? That Maliki, the Iraq leader, says, we would like to see the Americans get out of our country. They can go anytime they want to go. All right. What is stopping us? What's stopping us? Then we ought to get on the boats and get out tomorrow. So until we get that kind of leadership.
Well, and I think earlier this week the president held a press conference and he talked about this broader ideological struggle. And that's exactly what this pushing freedom and democracy on everybody and having a base in Iraq to fight terrorism. He believes it. Yeah. And he's not going to change. You're not going to change this guy a bit. And that's what Americans have to realize. And I think that's what the Democratic leadership's got to realize.
Tom, I want to go.
I was reading today in the paper, there used to be 10 Iraqi battalions ready to fight on their own.
Yeah.
Now there's 6.
Right.
So we're making progress. Fucking backwards.
And
hard work. Freedom's on the march.
And that said, let's bring
6.
this to Iraq and the possibility of Iran as well. And what do we? For example, what do we do if next week suddenly there's a Gulf of Tonkin incident? A Silkworm missile comes out and hits one of our ships in the Gulf, and an hour later, and an hour later, I mean, it's.
See, all right, this is what I'm afraid of, and this is why I keep talking about how the Democrats need strength. Do you know that they just passed a resolution in the Senate just last week against saying that Iran is killing our troops in Iraq? There's no evidence for that. And exactly right, it was 97-0. Why? Because the Democrats were afraid, we got to sound tough. We got to sound tough. But you just passed a resolution giving Dick Cheney and George Bush the green light, saying they're killing our troops. Then they're going to come back and say, well, if they're killing our troops, we had to act. And the Democrats wouldn't do it. Why do we push for impeachment? One, they broke the law, and there's got to be consequences. But two, more importantly, for the moment being, for the sake of the world is, we got to get these guys out, okay? Because I'm afraid of what they're going to do in the next 18 months. I really, really am. I mean, they've been setting up for it. It's very well coordinated. Joe Lieberman goes on Fox News Channel. He talks about it. And then they have their fake analysts that come on Fox News and talk about it. Yep. And then they have the general, the main communications general in Iraq right now was sent there 3 weeks ago from the White House. Okay? Now he's talking about Iran, and they quoted him in that resolution. They've done this before. I've seen this movie before. And it was called Iraq, and I hated it. And I don't want to see a sequel. And that's what I'm most afraid of. If you told me today, hey, they're going to leave office and they're not going to attack Iran, that would be the biggest relief in the world to me. I'm deathly afraid that's what they're going to do. That's point number one. Point number two is that when they do, the Democrats won't stand up. Okay? That when they do, they'll say, bring the flag. I'm going to wrap myself in the flag and say, hey, what could we do? We got hit. Bush is right. Let's go get him.
They'll say, no, we did have an exit strategy through Iran.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the neocons are even crazier. Did you see Bill Kristol on Fox News? So the report comes out saying Al-Qaeda is back to pre-9/11 strength because we didn't finish the job in Afghanistan and we didn't win Iraq. And Bill Kristol goes, well, we got to bomb Pakistan now. It's like, what?
I mean, pick a name out of a hat. Remember Doug Feith, number 3 man at the Pentagon, after 9/11, writes a memo. He says, we should attack, this is literally true, reported by Newsweek, okay? We should attack Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. And they said, why? He said, they'll never see it coming. Literally a true story, okay? I mean, just give me a country, any country, right?
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
Did you just make
Kristol,
that up?
No, swear to God, that's true.
No, Bill Kristol literally said, we don't even have to tell Musharraf. Yeah, I'm sure he won't notice.
Hey, there's a couple